The first name in news, the last word in talk. Kello, News Talk 13.
Good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. So here we go.
The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio. Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage Show.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Friday, January 24th. So Donald Trump signed the executive order yesterday mandating the declassification of all the remaining government files related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, civil rights leader Martin Luther King, all of that being released. And this is a big story this morning. Really is one of the big stories of the day. So Donald Trump signing the executive order yesterday, and we're going to talk about that in more detail coming up this morning. As we get your reaction to it. And in fact, at Facebook this morning, I asked, what do you think of the declassification? What do you think we will find? And I'm really curious to hear what folks say. So you can share your comments on Facebook, and we'll talk about this coming up a little bit later in the program. Really, the question's an easy one. I think, should the government have released these files decades ago? What do you think? So we'll talk about that coming up. That's a very big story this morning. So Trump, I wanted to give you some of the reaction. The family of Martin Luther King Jr. talked about it and said, this is, as you might imagine, deeply personal to them, and they expressed that they would like to review the files before the public release. I hope they're able to do that. Then you've got Jack Schlossberg, who is the grandson of John F. Kennedy, and he's critical of the decision, suggesting that it politicizes his grandfather's legacy. I understand those are the Schlossbergs, to put that in context, have long been critics of Donald Trump's. So here's Donald Trump trying to make that information available to everyone so Americans can finally see this. And it's Donald Trump's politicizing it. Give me a break, because I think a lot of Americans know who is routinely politicizing a lot of these things, and it's the left. So Trump signed that executive order yesterday. That is a very big story. We'll talk about it in more detail. And we'll get back to, let's go this way. Donald Trump also at the World Economic Forum. And he's not actually there, but he was appearing, digitally. So he addressed the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland yesterday. Did you hear any of this? Clay and Buck covered it on their show. I thought it was pretty incredible. Trump did not hold back. But Trump said, to further unleash our economy, our majorities in the House and Senate, which we also took along with the presidency, are going to pass the largest tax cut in American history, including massive tax cuts for workers and families and big tax cuts for domestic producers and manufacturers. You catch that? Domestic producers and manufacturers. He said, we're working with the Democrats on getting an extension of the original Trump tax cuts. He said, as you probably know by just reading any paper, he said, my message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America. and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts, he said. And then he said, but if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply, you will have to pay a tariff. Differing amounts, but a tariff, which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt, Trump said. Now, he really, I love this. But if you don't make your product in America, that's you. You can do that. That's your right. Then you are going to pay a tariff, Trump said. That is also a big story from yesterday. There are a number of them. We have Pete Hegseth, who has cleared his Senate hurdle and will advance to a final confirmation vote that'll be taking place later today. So this was a procedural hurdle that he faced yesterday, and so you had some of the usual Republican suspects, I call them the usual suspects. Senator Susan Collins of Maine, she voted no. Senator Mitch McConnell actually voted in favor of Hegseth. I think it was, you also had Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who made a big issue of this yesterday. And I mean, these are some of the, I have a really difficult time, I will tell you, as I listen to some of these Republican senators like Murkowski. When I hear her at times, I don't hear much difference from what Democrat leader Chuck Schumer is saying. I really don't. I just don't hear much distinction in their positions. And I think what you find is Hegseth's going to pass. Well, then I'm taking the position that, I'm an independent and I'm an independent thinker, and therefore I'm not going to go along with this and blah, blah, blah. It's just sickening. At least to me it is. Forgive me. I'm just not a fan of Senator Murkowski's. So Hegseth is going to pass. You've got a couple of Republicans then who will not be part of the vote. But that's not going to threaten the approval of his nomination. At least I don't believe at this point. I think this was what we saw yesterday was kind of a last minute effort and one final gasp of effort as they were trying to derail Hegseth, and it does not look like that will happen. Also yesterday, the Senate confirmed John Ratcliffe as the CIA director on a vote of 74-25. Ratcliffe is a name that is known, I think, to many who follow news. He's a former congressman from Texas. He served in Donald Trump's first administration. He was the director of national intelligence for a few months. You may remember that. And Trump on Truth Social, when he announced Ratcliffe, he said he's always been a warrior for truth and honesty with the American public. And he is expected, according to the post-millennial, to come in like a wrecking ball to DEI programs within the CIA. I love hearing that stuff. It's a great time if you're I think especially if you're a conservative or you're a Republican, or even if you voted for Donald Trump. I think this is a great time as these folks are coming in. Yeah, they're coming in like a wrecking ball. And I think there's, when Donald Trump was first elected, the heat was on immediately. you didn't have any kind of grace period. Generally you've got, following an election, there's a period of like 90 days, so on, and this time around, I think Trump has got that going on, with supporters and with those who voted for him, because the proof is in the pudding, right? You're seeing all of these things. Donald Trump was out there promising to do this, and this. And then the minute he's sworn in, he's signing executive orders, doing all of the things that he just said he would do. So it's pretty incredible. Other big stories this morning. You've got new fires spreading in Southern California. Dry winds continue to blow there. So they're facing new wildfires. Firefighters are still fighting multiple fires across the state. And the weather conditions, unfortunately, really kind of tragically, have not helped them. The weather conditions. So, Straight Arrow News is saying the Hughes fire started on Wednesday. Weeks after some of the earliest fires, the Hughes fire has burned over 10,000 acres. Got a number of different fires that are burning in California. And yesterday afternoon, firefighters said they had contained about 24% of the fire as of yesterday afternoon. So they're making some progress, but it's slow going. And with the new, blazes popping up and starting, it's making that really, really difficult. That's a big story this morning. Also, among others, we'll talk about this coming up. Representative Andy Ogles of Tennessee proposing an amendment to the Constitution. And that's not an easy process, passing an amendment to the Constitution. But he wants Donald Trump to serve a third term in the White House. He said so that the country can sustain the bold leadership our nation so desperately needs. We're going to talk about this coming up later this morning. We'll open up the phone lines after 8 o'clock. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's been known that this would be Donald Trump's last term. Donald Trump serving a third term. I would remind you, Donald Trump is in great shape, but he's not a young guy. He is not a young man. I would really hate to see, and I don't know how Donald Trump is going to age. I think we all age differently. You and I have talked about that over the, especially as we watch Joe Biden age. And I think especially over the last few years, we saw a pretty rapid acceleration of Joe Biden being unable to, complete a sentence at times and slurring his words and stumbling up steps. We watched all of those things unfold. I would hate to see that happen to Donald Trump. And because all of us are going to get old. How we age, some people are just amazing, though. I watch some folks, and you look at people and they're just as robust as they, in their later years as they were when they were younger. And I just kind of rock back, and I'm just amazed by that. I envy that. I really do. Because I go out daily. I go out and do a little bit of walking. And so I go to the Western Mall, and there are a number of folks who are in there and they're walking, especially when the weather has been kind of cold as it has been recently. And there are folks who are there, and a number of them who are clearly older than me. And they pass me, man, like it's like I'm doing 45 miles per hour on the interstate highway, and boom, there they go. You know what I mean? But I admire that. I envy that. So Donald Trump serving a third term. We'll talk about that coming up this morning after 8. We'll get your thoughts on it. Other stories this morning. U.S. southern border has seen a sharp drop in illegal immigrant encounters in the first day of the Trump administration. This is according to the multiple sources at the Department of Homeland Security are telling Fox this. The number of Border Patrol encounters at the southern border in the first 3 days of the Trump administration is 35% lower than the final 3 days of the Biden administration. And this is, you can find that story at foxnews.com without delving too much into those. Top story at Fox News. This is their top story this morning at foxnews.com. Donald Trump he's scheduled to visit Western North Carolina today. So Trump and other U.S. officials will be there, but Trump has said that they have been treated badly by the Democrats. So Republican North Carolina Senator Ted Budd told Fox, he said, to the president and members of his team over the weekend, the people of North Carolina are among his top priorities. He was speaking to them. He said, they need a rebuilder in chief who can cut through the red tape and get folks what they need as quickly as possible. And President Trump will do just that. People of Western North Carolina will not be forgotten by me or the president. So Trump will be doing that. Also, the top story this morning at the New York Post. The headline, all jacked up. The grandson of JFK, and I mentioned this to you a little bit earlier, Jack Schlossberg, reacting to Donald Trump's order to release the assassination files. And he said, JFK conspiracy theories, the truth is a lot sadder than the myth, a tragedy that didn't need to happen, not part of an inevitable grand scheme. Declassification is using JFK as a political prop when he's not here to punch back, he says. There's nothing heroic about it. I don't know. I think folks have been asking for that, and it's not just Republicans. People have been asking and wanting to see those files released for a long time. Why was it that you had those who were involved saying, no, these have got to be sealed and folks can't see them till we're all dead and gone? And, I think there has been for a long time a really genuine kind of folks have questions regarding the assassination of JFK, and it may actually help end a lot of all of the conspiracy theories have abounded, no question of that. That's what happens in the absence of details and fact. So, and I don't think that you could say that that is somehow better, because that's what Schlossberg seems to be saying, that all of the speculation that's been ongoing is somehow better than actually releasing the information. Other stories. A few stories in South Dakota I want to share this morning, that with Donald Trump, pardoning those folks that were involved in the January 6th attacks this week, 5 of them were from South Dakota. Teleland TV had a story on this. Among them were individuals who had previously pled guilty to charges related to the riot. So following the pardons, federal prosecutors have been directed to dismiss pending indictments against these defendants. And have you heard that in some of these cases, you have people at the state level that are saying, well, we're going to come back after him and we're going to file state charges. And I thought, you need a kick in the head, man. You need, seriously, somebody needs to give you a kick in the head and say, okay, return to reality there. Also, when you're hearing Joe Bowman talk about this morning, Herm Otten of Lennox announced his resignation from the South Dakota House of Representatives, citing personal and family reasons, he said. So he has got some longevity as a state lawmaker. He has served in the state house from 2013 to 2020, the state senate from 2021 to 2024, and was just recently reelected. Herm Otten serves District 6. So this includes northern Lincoln County. And many are a little bit surprised by that. Few of the big local stories. Other stories this morning, and I'll touch on these over the course of the morning. Got nominations for the 97th Academy Awards announced yesterday. Also, the NFL playoffs continue this Sunday with the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship. The Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship. So that'll be coming up. U.S. stock markets closed up yesterday. The S&P 500 nabbed a new record as Donald Trump calls for lower interest rates and oil prices in his remarks in Davos. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. 627. It's mostly cloudy in 16, and you're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
528 Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, the Give You More Tire and Automotive Store.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen Picture and Combination Windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in the bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
Let's ABC Seamless. It's the Halberstadt's annual BOGO sales event. Select from an incredible collection of designer suits and sport coats during this buy one, get one free event. Only at Halberstadt's Galleria location, 41st and Louise, Sioux Falls.
Nothing has embodied the American spirit like the family farmer. Year after year, they continue to work the land and plant their crops. Through droughts, floods, and uncertain markets, they keep that spirit alive with another crop harvested for the next generation. And for that, we tip our hats to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Disaster strikes.
Donald Trump says he's not sure U.S. should be spending anything on NATO. This is up at Fox and Friends right now. That interview that Trump had with Hannity, I'm catching more and more of that. Because that was a couple of days ago. It's still trending a little bit this morning. And I'm still seeing news reports regarding that interview as additional things are coming out. So pretty wide-ranging interview with Hannity. Donald Trump asking the NATO nations to raise their defense spending. He did the same thing during his first term. Really was adamant about that other countries are paying more for their own defense rather than all of that falling on the American taxpayers.
Warming up this afternoon, our high temperature 35, but a brisk northwest wind coming with that at 15 to 25 under a partly to mostly cloudy sky. Tonight, partly cloudy and low near 21. Slightly cooler tomorrow. High close to 30. Northwest winds, though, at 15 to 30 miles per hour. Temperatures at 33 on Sunday. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30. Mostly cloudy and 16 currently at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com news center. We may see the 10 Commandments posted in South Dakota classrooms in the near future. Joe will explain why. Also, details from a Brookings couple trapped in a hotel fire in India last week. Amazing story coming up.
Senate vote's expected tonight on confirming Pete Hegseth.
Excuse me.
Republicans feel confident that Hegseth will cross the finish line, even though 2 GOP members joined Democrats yesterday rejecting Hegseth in a procedural vote. Senators Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins voted no, skeptical about his qualifications for the job.
Fox's Natalie Rivera. President Trump says he'll put more pressure on Russia to end the war in Ukraine and that Ukraine's President Zelensky is ready to settle.
He shouldn't have allowed this to happen either. No. You know, if he's no angel, he shouldn't have allowed this war to happen. First of all, he's fighting a much bigger entity.
The president with Fox's Sean Hannity. He takes his first trip since returning to office today, visits North Carolina and California to tour hurricane and wildfire damage. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. A bill that would require the 10 Commandments to be displayed in every South Dakota classroom is gaining ground. Yesterday in Pierre, a Senate committee voted 4-3 in favor of the proposal. Should the bill pass, classrooms would have to put up a poster of the 10 Commandments no smaller than 8 by 14 inches. They were trapped in a burning hotel halfway around the world with no hope.
I said to the Lord, I'm ready to die, but I really don't want to die here.
Pastors Dave and Jeannie Kaufman of Brookings have traveled to India many times, but just over a week ago, an electrical short caused a fire that could have easily taken their lives. When a fire truck arrived, its ladder was too short to reach their floor, and there wasn't enough water pressure to battle the blaze. Rescue workers lacked protective gear, but rescued the Kaufmans and their friends with acts of uncommon bravery.
I said to the guy, here, let me see you. I want to give you a reward. It was so heart-wrenching. He looked at me and he said, you are my reward. And we all burst out crying. And so grateful.
You can read about the whole story of this harrowing ordeal at Kello.com. Fundraising efforts continue in honor of the late Ken Prorock, the Moody County Chief Deputy Sheriff who died in the line of duty last February. Current and former law enforcement officers are gathering funds to attend the Law Enforcement Memorial Week in Washington, D.C., where Ken Prorock's name will be added to the memorial wall. The group is hosting a final Walking Taco Feed fundraising event this evening at Flandreau High School. Today is the nomination deadline for Representative-elect Herman Auden's District 6 seat. Leaders in Lincoln County are scrambling to find a replacement for Auden after he announced he would not serve his term. And in college basketball last night, the Coyotes took a bite out of North Dakota 102-93, and the Jackrabbits edged Kansas City 65-64. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Mostly cloudy skies with wind switching to the northwest this afternoon, 15 to 25 miles per hour. Temperatures, though, warming back up into the mid-30s. Overnight tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy conditions, a low near 21. And then for tomorrow, brisk northwest wind 15 to 30, high near 30 degrees. From the Storm Center at KLAN TV, I'm Brian Karstens.
The radio station you're listening to now is Kello. Our addresses are AM 1320, FM 105.1, and worldwide at Kello.com.
If you're a TikTok user, I'm sure you're happy with President Trump's executive order to bring TikTok back for 90 days so that an American buyer can be found. But if you don't currently have TikTok on your phone, you're not going to get it anytime soon. I'm Kim Commando for Simple
Oh, I'm heartbroken.
Visit simplysafekim.com to save 50% on the new system. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Some TikTok users got angry and deleted the app when TikTok went dark for a day. The app is not available on the Apple and Google app stores in the United States. Apple and Google may find some way around this, but the president's order was very specific. The law banning TikTok allowed for the emergency 90-day reprieve, but nothing there or in the executive order allows for new users. How badly do people want TikTok? There are a few hundred eBay listings for smartphones with the app installed. They were asking thousands of dollars. Anyone want it that bad? Join over 600,000 folks who get TechSmart every single day with my free newsletter at getkim.com. Nothing is more important than protecting who you love from harm. And if you've been thinking about home security, now's the time to join the millions of Americans who trust SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe doesn't just react to break-ins, it helps stop them before they begin. Their exclusive Active Guard outdoor protection uses AI-powered cameras backed by live monitoring agents to keep watch over your property 24/7. When someone suspicious approaches your home, agents can see and speak to them in real time and call the police if necessary, all before they have the chance to get inside. SimpliSafe makes it easy to protect what matters most. With no long-term contracts and a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, you can try SimpliSafe risk-free. Start the year with greater peace of mind. Visit simplysafekim.com to claim 50% off a new system with a professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafekim.com. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Go right now while you're thinking about it. simplysafekim.com.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
Are you feeling the impact of the recent changes in the timeshare industry? My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust. For more than a decade, they have successfully helped over 20,000 owners get out of their timeshare. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau and thousands of 5-star reviews, customer service is their priority. For a free consultation and a guaranteed solution, 855-551-7066 or go to Lone Star Transfer.
Quick word from my friends at Washington Crossing. I love sharing their story because Washington Crossing allows folks to live independently for as long as they can. So if you are near retirement age, or maybe you have been thinking about, maybe you're beyond retirement age and you're thinking that home ownership has become challenging for you. Washington Crossing is a really viable option, and I think you're going to love it. They got a number of different living options for you. If you decide, for instance, and a lot of residents do, they have their noon meal together made by the chef at Washington Crossing. And it's among the many services that Washington Crossing provides. And then if you need additional services, let's say you need help cleaning your apartment, right? You need help cleaning, or you're just tired of doing it, or you're having trouble getting around. Those are services that are available for you at Washington Crossing. And again, what it does is allow you to continue to live independently and do it for as long as you can. And that's what the folks at Washington Crossing do. So I encourage you to take a tour and meet the folks there. I think you're going to love the staff. You're going to love the residents and the facility. Give them a call today. Schedule a personal tour and learn more about Washington Crossing. 605-271-9273. Jot it down, please. 605-271-9273. Discover why so many people call Washington Crossing home. Washington Crossing, life made simple.
Winter in South Dakota is one big question mark.
What's it going to be like today?
How bad are the roads?
Will I be able to wrestle my kid into those snow pants?
Get most of the answers you want with up-to-the-minute forecast and the latest road conditions on Kello News Talk.
639, mostly cloudy and 16. Good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Coming up, we're going to talk about Donald Trump declassifying all the remaining government files related to the assassination of JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King Jr. Should the government have released these files decades ago? We'll talk about that coming up this morning after 7. I welcome your thoughts on that this morning at Facebook. So if you've got a comment, feel free to leave it there. And of course, you can drop me an email anytime. My email address is greg.belfrage@kelo.com.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, as we take a look at trending stories this morning, the top trender is the one I just mentioned to you, Donald Trump releasing the last secret files about the assassination of JFK that can now be published. So he ordered the declassification yesterday. There have been a lot of conspiracy theories that have been out there, and I think we see that happen anytime there's an absence of information. When folks do not have actual facts, we see all kinds of conspiracy theories, because people are wondering, understandably wondering what happened. So Trump is releasing, he signed an executive order directing the director of national intelligence to put together a plan within 15 days for the full release of documents about the JFK assassination. So as Trump was signing the executive order, he said, "That's a big one, huh?" And he asked that the pen be given to RFK Jr. He said a lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. Everything will be revealed. Trump said, their families and the American people deserve transparency and truth. It is in the national interest to finally release all records related to these assassinations without delay. Also, Pete Hegseth's confirmation vote will advance now. That is likely today. He's Donald Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense. And Hegseth cleared a final hurdle in the U.S. Senate yesterday. Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine voting against Hegseth. And but that's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough to derail Hegseth. He will be installed. Also, John Ratcliffe was confirmed to be the next director of the CIA yesterday. And so now he becomes the second of Donald Trump's cabinet picks to secure their position. Marco Rubio, of course, the first as Secretary of State. So the Senate's approval of Ratcliffe came after a 14-3 vote in the Senate Intelligence Committee Monday night. And they advanced Ratcliffe's nomination to the Senate floor then yesterday. And Ratcliffe passing. There were those who voted against him, but that's pretty common. Ratcliffe is in. Also, a federal judge yesterday. This story is trending. Honestly, I didn't find it to be a big surprise. I don't know that you did either. Donald Trump has signed an executive order ending birthright citizenship. We talked about this yesterday. Judge struck it down, saying it was blatantly unconstitutional. And this is the judge sits in Seattle. He's a Ronald Reagan appointee. And so he said, "I have been on the bench for over 4 decades. I can't remember another case where the question presented was as clear." He said, "Where were the lawyers when the decision to sign the executive order was made?" Said it boggled his mind that a member of the bar would claim the order was constitutional. I think the order was designed to do exactly what we see happening. That we would have a judge say, "You can't proceed with this." And now this thing can advance. Now you can appeal it. Now you can have, hopefully this works its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we can have a serious discussion about birthright citizenship and what Congress actually intended when they passed the 14th Amendment. So I don't know. I think I don't mean to be disrespectful. So this judge has been on the bench for over 40 years. I just think common sense tells you that that's what the end game is here. The end game is to put this in front of the courts, have this happen. Again, I'm just so shocked. I really am just constantly amazed at how stupid the most intelligent people in our country are at times. And this is an example. I think so many of us know what's going on here. Just crazy. Now, Donald Trump outlining his tax cut plans, telling the World Economic Forum, make your product in America, inviting them to do this. Trump said to further unleash our economy, our majorities in the House and Senate, which we took along with the presidency, are going to pass the largest tax cut in American history, including massive tax cuts for workers and families and big tax cuts for domestic producers and manufacturers. He said, my message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest rates of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original tax cuts. But then he said, but if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, he said, that very simply, you will have to pay a tariff. Differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt, Trump said. Donald Trump also has, this story is trending, revoked security protection for Mike Pompeo. Pompeo had served as Secretary of State in Trump's first administration. Had been a loyal Trump ally then until he considered challenging Trump for president. There were reports that were out there that he was considering running for president. So Trump withdrawing protection for Mike Pompeo, also for John Bolton. And Trump said, we're not going to have security on people for the rest of their lives, Trump said. Yeah, why should a number of these folks, why should they have security for the rest of their lives? Yeah, I think that's a great question. Why should the American people, if you go and you serve in the federal government, so what now? You've got security for the, depending on your position, you've got security for the rest of your life? That just doesn't make sense. Also, hundreds of illegal immigrants that have been arrested now this week. In fact, Fox News Radio had the number this morning, 538 illegal aliens have been arrested, 538. And we are days into the Trump presidency. Also, Saudi Arabia's crown prince told Donald Trump that they plan to sink $600 billion into new investments and trade with the U.S. They'll do this over the next 4 years, according to reports. And Donald Trump is out there saying, I think I can get them to go up to $1 trillion. So $600 billion invested in the U.S., and Donald Trump saying, I think I can get the prince up to $1 trillion. Wow. Also, Donald Trump, keep in mind that some of these stories, as they're trending, they're a little beyond the latest news. I mean, Donald Trump has stopped the arrivals of refugees that had been cleared to enter the United States. That happened this week. So following an executive order that was signed Monday, all previously scheduled travel of refugees to the United States is being canceled, said the State Department. And I shared that story also with you yesterday, still trending this morning. Also, Donald Trump has redesignated the Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization. So his executive order was released this week, and they are one of the main combatants in the Yemeni civil war. They've been disrupting shipping in the Red Sea, and Donald Trump calling them a foreign terrorist organization. Also, Donald Trump signed a sweeping execution order on Monday on the death penalty, directing the Attorney General to take all necessary and lawful action to ensure that states have enough lethal injection drugs to carry out executions. So Trump had been expected to restart federal executions. It's been on hold since a moratorium was imposed by former Attorney General Merrick Garland. I love saying former Attorney General. You know what I mean? Former White House press secretary, former, it's got a ring to it finally. So anyway, Trump directing the AG to pursue federal jurisdiction and seek the death penalty regardless of other factors, he said. Also, fires in Los Angeles. Evacuation orders were lifted yesterday for tens of thousands as firefighters who got air support slowed the spread of the Hughes fire. So it broke out late Wednesday morning and in less than a day had burned nearly 16 square miles. Isn't that incredible? So it's you've got the Eaton and the Palisades fires that are now burning for week number 3. Wow. So crews had made some pretty significant progress by late yesterday afternoon on the Hughes fire, with more than 1/3 of that contained. Also trending with all of these fires, there are concerns about the city's air quality. We're talking about Los Angeles now, the quality of the air in Los Angeles. So there are high levels of lead, chlorine, and toxins filling the air, according to the New York Times. They say the neurotoxin lead reached 100 times average levels, even miles from the flames, while levels of chlorine reached 40 times the average. So they're just absent. I mean, these fires are just devastating. Other stories trending this morning. Got a rare blanket of snow in New Orleans and some of the other Gulf Coast cities who are seeing a winter storm and some already storm of the century. So even the Florida Panhandle, Houston, New Orleans, all seeing snow. 97th Academy Awards. The complete list is out. I'm going to leave it there. I mean, some of these films, if you're one to follow the awards, the Academy Awards, and you enjoy that kind of thing, you can find out. But the complete list is out. Pretty easy to find if you're so inclined. Also trending this morning, Columbia University students who were learning about the history of Israel found their first day of class thrown into chaos on Tuesday. 4 mass demonstrators barged into the classroom, banged on drums, chanted "Free Palestine." So the nonsense that we saw happening at college campuses last year, going to continue again this year. Also, defense attorneys for Brian Kohlberger say that they want DNA evidence in his case thrown out And they're saying the way that they're blaming law enforcement and the way that they used to identify him as a suspect was a violation of his constitutional rights. I think there are a number of folks who were surprised by that's kind of a sudden. All right. Also, CNN laying off hundreds of employees. The network's making a digital pivot. So Warner Brothers Discovery has been struggling with their ownership of cable channels, leaving it as more viewers move to streaming, digital offerings, and CNN again laying off hundreds of employees. I think 6% was the number I think that I saw, the percentage. It's like 6% of the CNN workforce. Also, the New York Jets have announced that Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn will be the new head coach of the New York Jets. So they managed to snag the top coaching candidate from the Detroit Lions, kind of adding insult to injury for the Lions this year. Also, 7 police officers were injured after a suicide response turned into a standoff in San Antonio. So 7 police officers shot. This took place at an apartment complex. 4 suffered from non-life-threatening injuries. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Bell's News Gallery. Thanks so much for joining us this morning at 6:57. Currently mostly cloudy and 16. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
Receiving Kello at 107.9.
Thank you for being here, my friends. See you again at 9:30 for the 4th hour. And I hope you'll be back for that. Otherwise, I want to wish you a great weekend. You take care. See you again soon.
Building strong business relationships is key. It's about forging connections built on trust, innovation, and